The desperate call. The crystal spires of Terran Prime reflected the light of twin suns, casting rainbow patterns across the floating gardens that had taken 3 centuries to cultivate. High Counselor Velrus stood at the observation deck of the central governance sphere, watching those beautiful colors and wondering if this would be the last time anyone would see them. Below, in the shallow seas that covered most of the planet, millions of Terran went about their daily lives, completely unaware that extinction was racing toward them through the void. "Another colony has gone silent," Subcommander Tanis announced from behind Velrus. Her gills fluttered with anxiety, a telltale sign that even her usually calm demeanor was cracking under the pressure. "That makes 9 worlds in 6 months. The Krath are accelerating their advance." Velrus did not turn away from the window. His people had evolved in the gentle waters of a moon orbiting a gas giant. Their world had minimal gravity, calm weather, and abundant resources. For 15,000 years, the Terran had built a civilization based on trade, art, and philosophical discourse. They had no word for genocide in their language because such a concept had never existed in their reality. The Krath were teaching them new vocabulary with each passing day. "What is our fleet status?" Velrus asked, though he already knew the answer would bring no comfort. 12 vessels remain operational," Tanis replied. "We lost 3 more ships at the Helion Station defense. Commander Praxis managed to evacuate 70% of the civilian population before the station fell. But the Krath showed no mercy to those who remained behind." Velrus finally turned to face his subcommander. Tanis was young for her position, barely into her 2nd century, but the war had aged her. The bioluminescent patterns along her arms, which should have glowed with vibrant blues and greens, were dim with exhaustion and stress. "The Galactic Council?" Velrus asked without hope. "They expressed deep concern and are forming a committee to investigate," Tanis said bitterly. "By the time they finish debating proper procedures, the Krath will have turned Terran Prime into another lifeless rock." The Krath had appeared from the outer rim 3 years ago. They were massive creatures, evolved on a high-gravity world where survival meant constant violence. Their ships were crude but effective, built for one purpose, taking what they wanted from those too weak to resist. The Galactic Council had protocols for dealing with aggressive species, but those protocols required months of diplomatic negotiation and careful adherence to ancient laws. The Terran did not have months. They had weeks at best. "There is one option," Science Director Melos said, entering the chamber with a data tablet clutched in his webbed hands. "An option that violates every treaty we have signed." "Speak freely," Velrus commanded. "Treaties mean nothing to corpses." Melos activated his tablet, projecting a star map into the air between them. Most of the galaxy was colored in shades of blue and green, representing the 5,000 species that comprised the Galactic Council. But there in one corner was a small yellow dot, isolated and unmarked. "This is Sol System," Melos explained. "Surveys were conducted 200 years ago and then sealed. The system contains an inhabited world designated as Class 12. Tanis sucked in water through her gills sharply. Class 12 is the highest Deathworld classification. Nothing intelligent should be able to evolve in conditions that harsh. And yet something did, Melos continued. The species calls themselves humans. They have developed faster than light travel within the last 50 years. They have unified their entire species under a single governing body, and according to the sealed reports, they have extensive experience with warfare." Velrus studied the lonely yellow dot on the map. The Council sealed the reports for a reason. "What did the survey teams find that frightened them so badly?" Melos hesitated before answering. "The planet Earth has full standard gravity, temperature extremes that would kill most sentient species, atmospheric pressure that would crush the Delari, an oxygen concentration that would be toxic to the Phyrexians, weather patterns that include electrical storms, cyclonic winds, and seismic activity. The survey team reported over 400,000 species of large predators, and the humans conquered them all." "They conquered their own world," Tanis whispered. "What kind of species does that?" "The kind that might be able to stop the Krath," Velrus said quietly. He looked at both of his advisors. "You understand what we are proposing? We would be inviting an unknown species into our territory, a species that evolved in conditions so hostile that the mere description makes us uncomfortable, a species that the Council deemed too dangerous to contact. The Krath will exterminate us," Tanis said firmly. "I would rather take an unknown risk than face certain extinction." "Melos?" Velrus asked. The science director looked at his data for a long moment before responding. The survey team's final note said that humans had fought over 5,000 wars in their recorded history. They have refined violence into an art form. If we call them, we may be inviting something worse than the Krath into our lives. He paused, but we will be alive to regret it, which is more than we can say if we do nothing. Velrus made his decision. Send the signal. Use the old mathematical language that any spacefaring species should be able to translate. Include our coordinates, casualty numbers, and a request for military assistance. Make it clear that we are facing extinction. Within the hour, a powerful transmission burst from the communications array on Xeran Prime. It carried a simple message encoded in prime numbers and basic mathematics, repeating endlessly as it raced through subspace toward the Sol system. The message would reach Earth in approximately 72 hours. Whether anyone would answer was another question entirely. Commander Marcus Steele was reviewing supply requisitions when the alert came through. As the commanding officer of the UES Retribution, a heavy cruiser in the United Earth Defense Force, he was responsible for a crew of 800 and a ship that carried enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. It was a responsibility he took seriously, which was why he found himself reading logistics reports at 3 a.m. ship time. Commander Steele, you are needed on the bridge immediately. His XO's voice crackled through the intercom with an urgency that made Steele drop his tablet and run. The bridge of the Retribution was a stark contrast to the comfortable quarters throughout the ship. Every surface was designed for efficiency. Holographic displays showed tactical information from a dozen angles. The crew sat at their stations in zero-gravity harnesses, ready to respond to any threat. Steele took his position in the command chair and activated his neural interface, allowing information to flow directly into his mind. Report, he ordered. Sir, we received a distress signal through subspace, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen said from the communication station. Origin point is approximately 47 light-years from Earth. The signal uses mathematical encoding. UEDF intelligence has been working on translation. Play it, Steele commanded. The translation appeared on the main display, and Steele felt his stomach tighten as he read. The message was desperate and clear. An alien species called the Xeran were facing genocide from an aggressive invader called the Krath. They had lost multiple colonies. Their fleet was nearly destroyed. They were requesting military assistance from anyone who might hear their call. How long have they been broadcasting? Steele asked. Best estimate is 6 days, Chen replied. The signal is on a loop repeating every 2 hours. 6 days, Steele repeated quietly. He had served in the UEDF for 20 years, working his way up from enlisted to officer. He had fought in the resource wars when humanity still battled itself. He had been part of the Mars pacification campaign. He knew what it meant when a distress call went unanswered for 6 days. It meant no one was coming to help. Sir, UEDF command is on secure channel, Chen announced. Admiral Victoria Okafor's face appeared on the display. She was a veteran of every major conflict humanity had fought in the past 50 years, and her expression showed she understood exactly what this situation meant. Commander Steele, you have read the transmission. What is your assessment? Admiral, if their description is accurate, we are looking at a genocide in progress. The Xeran are losing approximately 1 colony per month. At this rate, they will be extinct within a year. Agreed, Okafor said. The Council of Nations has authorized a military response. You are being given command of Task Force Retribution. You will take the Retribution. 3 destroyers, 2 frigates, and a medical vessel. Your mission is to render aid to the Xeran and neutralize the Krath threat. Steele felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This would be humanity's first major military operation beyond the Sol system. Admiral, we have no intelligence on either species. We do not know their capabilities, their culture, or their motives. Then you will learn quickly, Okafor replied. Commander, humanity has spent our entire history fighting. We have refined tactics and strategies through countless conflicts. We have technology designed specifically for war. If these Xeran sent out a distress call, they are desperate. Desperate enough to risk inviting the unknown into their homes. Show them what humanity can do. Yes, Admiral. Task Force Retribution will depart within 12 hours. Okafor's expression softened slightly. Marcus, be careful. We are stepping onto a stage where we know nothing about the other actors. First impressions matter. Make sure humanity's first impression is one of strength and reliability. Understood, Admiral. Steele out. The connection closed and Steele turned to his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. These men and women had trained for combat their entire careers. Now they would finally face an enemy that was not human. In a conflict that was not about resources or territory, they would fight because someone had asked for help. All hands, this is Commander Steele. We have received a distress call from an alien species facing extinction. UEDF Command has authorized military intervention. We depart for the Terran system in 12 hours. This will be humanity's first contact with alien civilization, and it will be made under combat conditions. I expect every member of this crew to conduct themselves with honor. We are not conquerors. We are defenders. We will show the galaxy what it means when Earth answers a call for help. Steele out. As his crew began preparations for departure, Marcus Steele looked at the star chart showing their destination. 47 light-years. With the new quantum drives, they could make the journey in 10 days. The question was whether they would arrive in time to save anyone, or if they would simply arrive to witness the end of a civilization. He thought about Admiral Okafor's words. First impressions matter. Humanity was about to make its debut on the galactic stage. They would do it with weapons ready and fire in their hearts. Steele smiled grimly. Let the galaxy learn what humans were capable of. Let them understand why you should never threaten a species that crawled its way up from the bottom of Earth's gravity, well, by learning to kill everything that moved. The Terran had called for help. The Deathworlders were coming. When Deathworlders fight in days of faster-than-light travel, gave Commander Steele plenty of time to study everything intelligence could provide about the Terran and their enemy. The information was limited, mostly extrapolated from the original survey data and the distress signal itself. The Terran were aquatic beings from a low-gravity world. They were traders and philosophers with minimal military capability. The Krath were large, aggressive, and had been conquering Terran territory with methodical efficiency. What bothered Steele most was the complete absence of military thinking in Terran culture. Their fleet tactics, from what little they could determine, relied on defensive shields and maneuvering. They had weapons but seemed reluctant to use them effectively. It was like watching a civilization try to fight with one hand tied behind their back by their own moral framework. Dropping out of FTL in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Vasquez announced from navigation. All hands, battle stations, Steele ordered. Weapons hot. Shields up. We do not know what we are jumping into. Task Force Retribution consisted of 6 warships, each designed specifically for combat. The Retribution herself was a heavy cruiser, with enough firepower to engage multiple targets simultaneously. The 3 destroyers, Valiant, Defiant, and Resolute, were fast attack vessels built around massive railgun arrays. The 2 frigates, Guardian and Sentinel, provided point defense and electronic warfare capabilities. Following behind at a safe distance was the medical vessel Mercy, ready to provide humanitarian aid. The view screen showed the distortion of faster-than-light space collapsing into normal reality. Stars suddenly appeared, sharp and clear, and there, hanging in the black void, was Terran Prime. My God, Lieutenant Chen breathed. The planet was beautiful. Shallow seas reflected sunlight like liquid sapphire. Floating structures hung in the atmosphere, connected by delicate bridges of crystal. But surrounding this beauty was a fleet of crude, angular warships. The Krath had arrived. Tactical, give me numbers, Steele demanded. Counting 23 hostile vessels ranging from frigate to battleship class, Ensign Ramirez reported. They are in orbital bombardment formation around Terran Prime, detecting energy signatures consistent with weapons fire. Commander, they are bombarding the surface. Any Terran vessels? 4 small ships attempting defensive maneuvers. They are heavily damaged and shields are failing. Steele felt rage building in his chest. He had seen orbital bombardment before, during the darkest days of Earth's civil wars. The devastation was absolute. Cities turned to ash. Ecosystems destroyed. Millions dead in minutes. Open a channel to all Krath vessels, Steele ordered. His voice was ice. This is Commander Marcus Steele of the United Nations Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to cease fire immediately and withdraw from Terran space. This is your only warning. The Krath ships did not respond. They simply continued their bombardment. Sir, one of the Krath battleships is powering weapons, Ramirez called out. They are targeting us! Evasive maneuvers. All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you ignore a warning from Earth. The Retribution's railgun spoke first. Magnetic accelerators hurled depleted uranium slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. The Krath battleship's shields flared and failed under the impact. The slugs punched through armor plating like it was paper, detonating the ship's reactor from inside. The battleship became a miniature sun for 3 seconds before its hull cracked open and vented atmosphere and bodies into the void. The rest of Task Force Retribution opened fire. Missiles with nuclear warheads streaked across space. Laser batteries carved through Krath armor. The human fleet moved with coordinated precision, each ship covering the others, creating overlapping fields of fire that turned space into a death trap. The Krath tried to respond, but their weapons were designed for use against shields and armor that followed galactic standards. Human ships used composite armor that absorbed energy weapons and could survive multiple direct hits. Human shields were designed to deflect projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The Krath had nothing that could match humanity's weapon systems. Enemy formation is breaking, Ramirez reported. They are attempting to regroup. Do not let them, Steele commanded. Destroyers pursue and engage. Frigates provide cover for the Terran vessels. Retribution will target their command ship. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, 15 Krath ships were destroyed, 6 were crippled and venting atmosphere, and 2 had managed to escape into FTL, fleeing back to whatever hole they had crawled out of. Task Force Retribution had not lost a single vessel. The most serious damage was a blown shield generator on the Defiant, which the crew had already begun repairing. Incoming transmission from the surface, Chen announced. It's the Terran, audio and visual. On screen, Steele ordered. The face that appeared was like nothing Steele had ever imagined. The being was vaguely humanoid but covered in blue-green scales that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Its eyes were large and dark, positioned on the sides of its head. Gills fluttered along its neck. When it spoke, a translation program converted the sounds into English. Human vessels, this is High Counselor Velrus of the Terran Confederation. We do not have words sufficient to express our gratitude. You arrived when we had lost all hope. You destroyed an enemy that we could not defeat. You have saved millions of lives. Steele felt the weight of that responsibility settle onto his shoulders. High Counselor Velrus, I am Commander Marcus Steele. We received your distress signal and came as fast as we could. What is your current situation? The Krath have been bombarding our planet for 3 days. Our shields held initially, but they were weakening. Another few hours and... Velrus's voice trailed off, but his meaning was clear. Another few hours and the beautiful world behind him would have been a smoking ruin. We are deploying medical teams to assist with casualties, Steele said. Our Marines will establish defensive positions around your capital. We need to discuss the broader strategic situation. How many other Terran worlds are under threat? 8 colonies remain, Velrus replied. The Krath control everything else. Commander Steele, I must ask, what manner of beings are you? I have reviewed the battle data. You destroyed 21 Krath vessels in minutes. Your weapons exceed anything in our database. Your tactics show an understanding of violence that frightens you, Steele finished quietly. High Counselor, my species evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight not because we wanted to, but because we had no choice. Earth taught us that survival requires strength, and strength requires the will to use it. A death world, Velrus whispered. You come from a death world. We do. And right now that is exactly what you need. With your permission, I would like to deploy ground forces to your planet while my fleet secures the system. Then we need to discuss how to protect your remaining colonies. Velrus was silent for a long moment. Steele could see the internal debate playing across the alien's face. He was weighing the risk of inviting warriors like humans onto his world against the certainty of extinction if the Krath returned. You have our permission. Commander Steele, coordinates are being transmitted for landing zones. I will meet with you personally to discuss strategy. The transmission ended. Steele turned to his XO. Lieutenant Commander Chen, you have the bridge. I am taking a shuttle down to the surface. Assemble a security detail and get me Colonel Wei from the Marine Detachment. It is time humans met the Terran face to face. The shuttle ride through Terran Prime's atmosphere gave Steele his first real look at the alien world. The planet was covered in shallow seas connected by networks of islands. The cities were not built on land but floated on the water, held aloft by some technology Steele did not recognize. The architecture was organic, flowing like it had grown rather than being constructed. It was beautiful in a way that made Steele's heart ache. This was a civilization that had developed in peace, that valued art and culture over conquest, and humanity had to teach them how to wage war if they wanted to survive. The shuttle landed on a platform near the central governance sphere. Steele emerged with Colonel Way and 6 Marines in full combat gear. The Terran who greeted them physically recoiled at the sight of armed humans. Steele did not blame them. Humans in combat armor were intimidating even to other humans. To beings from a low-gravity water world, they must look like monsters. High Counselor Velrus approached with evident caution. Standing next to the Terran, Steele realized just how different their species were. Velrus stood barely 5 feet tall and looked like he weighed less than 100 pounds. His movements were graceful but fragile. Steele was 6 feet of muscle and bone, built by a planet with crushing gravity and endless predators. "High Counselor," Steele said, extending his hand in what he hoped was a non-threatening gesture. "Thank you for meeting with us." Velrus looked at the offered hand uncertainly before reaching out with his own webbed appendage. The handshake was brief and clearly uncomfortable for the Terran. "Please follow me," Velrus said. "We have much to discuss." They walked through corridors that seemed designed to calm rather than to transport. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The walls displayed images of peaceful underwater scenes. Steele noticed that none of the Terran they passed carried anything resembling a weapon. These were truly a peaceful people. The strategy room was dominated by a holographic display showing the Terran's remaining territory. 8 worlds glowed in blue, surrounded by red markers indicating Krath presence. It was a desperate situation. The Terran were surrounded, outnumbered, and had no experience fighting an enemy that showed no mercy. "The Krath have superior numbers," Velrus explained. "Their technology is crude but effective. They do not follow the rules of warfare that galactic civilization has established. They target civilians. They show no mercy to those who surrender. They are motivated by conquest and plunder rather than any rational objective." "How many ships can you field?" Colonel Way asked, studying the display with a professional's eye. 4 vessels remain operational," Sub-Commander Tanis replied. She had been standing in the corner, watching the humans with obvious wariness. "We had 30 ships at the start of the conflict. The Krath destroyed the rest." 4 ships, Way repeated in disbelief. "Against how many Krath vessels?" "Intelligence estimates between 60 and 80, spread across multiple battle groups." Steele shared a look with Way. Those numbers were bad, but not impossible. Not for humans who had spent centuries perfecting the art of warfare. "What kind of defensive capabilities do your colonies have?" Steele asked. "Each world has orbital defense platforms and planetary shields," Velrus said, "but the shields require time to recharge after sustaining bombardment. The Krath have learned to rotate their forces, maintaining constant pressure until our defenses fail." "They are using a siege strategy," Way observed. "Classic attrition warfare. They can afford to take losses because they have numerical superiority." "We need to change the equation," Steele said. He manipulated the holographic display, bringing up tactical information. "High Counselor, we have 6 warships and approximately 400 Marines. The Krath have numbers, but we have better technology and combat experience. If we can hit their forces hard enough and fast enough, we can break their momentum." "You speak of offensive operations," Velrus said carefully. "We have only conducted defensive actions. Our philosophy is to protect, not to attack." "Your philosophy is getting you exterminated," Colonel Way said bluntly. "Sir, with all respect, you are fighting an enemy that does not share your values. Every day you wait, more of your people die. You need to take the fight to the Krath before they can consolidate their forces." Steele could see the internal struggle playing out across Velrus's face. Everything in Terran culture pushed against aggressive military action. But the alternative was extinction. "What do you propose?" Velrus finally asked. Steele brought up a star chart showing Krath positions. "Your colonies are spread across 8 systems. The Krath are using 4 main staging areas to coordinate their attacks. We hit those staging areas hard and fast. Destroy their logistics, their command structure, and their ability to coordinate. Force them onto the defensive." "That would require us to enter Krath-controlled space," Tanis protested. "We would be the aggressors." "You are already under attack," Steele replied. "This is not aggression. This is counterattack. The Krath chose this war. We are going to teach them why that was a mistake." Velrus looked at his advisors, then back at the human commander. "How long would such operations take?" "Give us 2 weeks," Colonel Way said. 2 weeks and we will break the Krath's ability to wage war against you. But we need your full cooperation. We need detailed intelligence on Krath positions, supply lines, and command structure. And we need your ships to coordinate with ours. Our commanders have no experience with offensive operations," Velrus said quietly. "Then they will learn from us," Steele replied. "High Counselor, Humanity has fought countless wars throughout our history. We have made every mistake possible and learned from them. We know how to wage war efficiently and effectively. Trust us to do what we do best. The silence stretched for a long moment. Finally, Velrus nodded slowly. Very well, Commander Steele. The Terran Confederation places its military forces under your command. Show us how to survive. Steele felt the weight of that trust settle onto his shoulders. An entire civilization was depending on him to save them from extinction. But as he looked at Colonel Way and saw the determination in his fellow soldiers' eyes, Steele felt confident. Humanity had been tested by Earth's harsh environment for millions of years. They had climbed to the top of their world's food chain by learning to adapt, to overcome, and when necessary, to kill. The Krath were about to learn what happened when you threatened a species that had survived everything Earth could throw at them. The Deathworlders were going hunting.